All right. Good evening, everybody. And this is the HPL College Football Preseason Showcase on the HPL YouTube channel. I'm Soaps. I've got USC head coach, always Joker, with me, and Mississippi State head coach, Hail State, with me. And I myself, user Georgia. We're going to take a quick look at the preseason rankings and a couple users in here that I want to shout out that may be just potential guys that might chase after the national championship in season two. As we know, Louisville, U of L fan, DJ, a lot of people know him as. He is the season one college football D1 champion. We'll be going over his schedule last, more than likely. But yeah, we're going to take a look at a couple users here. Before I introduce Joker and Hill State, they cannot see like my screen. They're kind of going off the stream, so they're going to really just be answering questions the best they can. And we're going to go ahead and start off, though. I think we're going to name 5 teams off this preseason top 25 media rankings that consensus we can agree upon and kind of give a little insight before we really pop into the schedules and the depth of this video here. So, Hail State Joker, the first team I kind of want to circle here as possible contender for a national championship is probably going to be Missouri. That's shake and bake over at Missouri. It used to be West Virginia. Unfortunately, took a conference loss to Boise State, an absolute barn burner this past season in the playoffs. We'll go to Hail State first on shake. What do you think about him switching to Missouri and the possibilities of him being able to win a title here?
I don't like it because I got to play him.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah, but the SEC's packed. But, Shake did run a dominant ship up at West Virginia. He was stopped by a red-hot Boise State team in the Sugar Bowl. But Missouri, I think, a little bit better than West Virginia. I know they definitely have a lot better weapons in the quarterback and the wide receiver spots in particularly. As I do control Missouri in another online dynasty, I got to say their offense is very explosive. So if Shake can hone that, I think you expect to see a little bit more defense from him, right? At the end of the day, West Virginia's lack of defense was his downfall. I think Missouri's defense is marginally be better. So look for Shake to make a splash here in his first year in the conference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you 100%. I think he's going to do a wonderful job being able to, perform in the SEC this season with coming over from West Virginia, taking over a better team. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to play a lot of different people, as we'll show you guys a little bit later on. But next up, I'm going to go ahead and shout out Texas as my number 2 pick here as the top, not a top 5, but 5 guys that I think will definitely contend for the title, make the playoffs, guarantees, would be Texas. Riley. He's coming up from D2, played a really, really good season. Also, he recruited last year, and just a little information. He had 11 5-stars commit. It didn't matter, but he's taking that information with him over here too. So you got to think Texas, they're going to be around for a really, really long time. The powerhouse. And I'm going to go to Joker on this one in Texas. Do you think you could just kind of dive into Texas and maybe what Riley could do coming into the SEC, playing a lot of different guys, going up to D1? Do you think he could just brush that off, like I'm kind of saying, and make it to that national championship contention level, or do you think that's going to weigh him down?
I mean, and to confirm, we can see your share screen, so just
awesome.
We can see your share screen. But yeah, I mean, joining the SEC. We know what Riley's kind of getting into with the loaded SEC this year. A lot of users in the SEC will kind of break that down a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, I feel like with a loaded SEC, 9-3 should kind of be the goal. Like, if you do better, you'll be in a better spot. But I think 9-3 for kind of these top ranked teams that you see in this top 25 or so should be enough to get you into the college football playoff.
Yeah, definitely. I think a 9-3 Texas team could definitely end up making the playoffs, but you don't ever want to shoot for that. I think everybody wants to go 12-0. It's just really hard to do that, especially in a situational league like this. The next guy we're going to go up to is somebody that just kind of fell short in D2, but is overall one of the highest rated users, I think, in the league. That's going to be Electric over at Kansas State. He's got Avery Johnson, a sophomore, and in this game. So he's going to have him for a really long time. He's a very dangerous quarterback, and Electric a very dangerous user. But he's in D1. He's in the Big 12, so he's not really playing that many users. But we'll get into his schedule a little bit. He does have some tough matchups, I will say. So we're going to go back to Hail State on this one about Kansas State. And just Hail State, what do you think, maybe Kansas State can do coming up to D1? And do you think there's still that overall #1 rated guy consensus, he's going to breeze into this national championship?
I don't think anything's a breeze. The word breeze is going to be used very lightly here because with the new rule set that the committee agreed upon after the end of last year, every team has to play a minimum of 6 user games. I don't know if there's an exception
With
to that
some
rule. I believe
exceptions.
there is
Yeah,
one.
there's some exceptions.
There's
to
one
that
or
rule.
two, but everyone at least has 5. I know that for a fact. So Electric does have to play other users. Now, is he better than most other users in this league? 100% yes. I look Kansas State, me personally, I don't mean to spoil too much, but I did make out a mock bracket, and I had Kansas State winning the Big 12. So they would be in my playoffs for sure, and once they get in, not a lot of people have been able to stop Electric just by watching him and playing him myself. So definitely look for the Wildcats to make a splash.
Yeah, I most certainly agree. I think he's definitely going to make a splash, but like you said in the first hand, nothing is a guarantee. And these next 2 picks, I'm going to go with myself. I'm not going to, I'm not stretching this. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked that I didn't include Louisville, the defending champions, in this kind of like top 5 list. I think with the new users that are in town and the way the playoffs are going to look later on down the road, it's going to be really tough for Louisville to repeat the run that they kind of had this year. But we'll start off with one of the first users that I think is really going to make a splash. And that's going to be Ole Miss. Let's see if we can just locate these guys. Number 5, that's Jackson Altman coming over from Syracuse. Played a really, really good game against me in the college football semifinals where, he kind of spanked me and whooped me. But he went on to the national championship and got whooped himself by Louisville. But that was Louisville versus Syracuse. He's coming over to what is the most high-powered offense in college football the last 4 years. They have averaged the most yards, averaged the most points. IRL the last 4 years and total offense, #1. So that's a really good stat to come into. You got a really high-powered offense, really good team. I think they're going to definitely have a say in the SEC championship game and definitely going to have a say in the national championship game unless, something wild happens. So the next guy we're going to move on to, I don't think they're on this top 25 list. So we're not going to be able to see their rankings. This is the only guy that I think has a national championship contention that is not a high-powered 5-star team. And that's probably going to be the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I just think the amount of users that are going to be on his schedule that you guys are going to see here shortly are really, really going to be huge. And I'm going to have to cut this short because my sister's calling me. Joker, thank you very much. We're going to introduce Penn State as our first schedule. So I'm going to get over to that. And Joker, you're going to take over here. Thank you.
Yeah, Hail State does have the most users in the entire college football league, double digits. There's only, I believe, based on my list, there's three. There's 3 with double digits. We'll kind of dive into them, all 3 of them being in the SEC. So, so this is Penn State's schedule. You see the versus, the ats. Obviously, versus means they're at home. At, that means they go on the road. They play ranked, 15 ranked Tennessee, 17 ranked Clemson, 23rd ranked Miami. It's their first 3 user games. Week 3, they also go to Indiana. But we're kind of focusing on the user aspect. I feel like that's what everyone kind of is looking forward to. So with the final 2 games, they will be Ohio State, 2nd ranked as of right now, and then 4th ranked Oregon, back-to-back weeks. So I believe all 5 user games are ranked opponents entering week 0. So if Dalator, to me, if he can, the 9-3 goal, Hail State, like we talked about, the 9-3 goal, winning all your AI games. I feel like winning those AI games are going to mean a lot more for him since he doesn't have a lot of user games. He is the least. He's tied with another user.
Yeah.
But, just kind of break down this schedule, Hail State, and where would the wins be if you're Penn State out of these 5 games?
Well, I think honestly, if you're Penn State, you got to look towards your CPU games as winnable games because, like we said, all of the user games are against ranked opponents. So you've got your Northwesterns, your UCLAs, your Rutgers, your Army, your Purdue. If you're Penn State, you got to win. And I do think Daltor does. I think Daltor's proved that he's good enough to win those CPU games. The user games are going to be tough. I think he drops to McCard. I think he probably drops to Dead Dad Mayhem later down the stretch. I think it'll come down to Clemson and Miami. I'm really high on the Clemson Tigers, as we'll see later. I think he gets Miami. Miami's at home, but I think it's a toss-up whether Penn State can end up 8-4 or 9-3 about that Clemson game in week 2. I had them miss the playoffs. I just think that with the increase in strength of schedule, I think Penn State's just going to be one of those teams that is just going to be left behind. But they could easily prove me wrong. Penn State, very talented team, very talented offense, especially in the backfield with, what's his name, number 10? I don't remember his name, but very talented running back. And Penn State has been sneaky in years past, so look for them to be one of the sneakier teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think we'll move on.
No, I mean, Hail State, I agree with you there. I think the Clemson and Miami game are the two pivotal games, but don't count out the McCard game here at home. You're at home in Beaver Stadium, so maybe he can pull something off and shock the Tennessee Vols. It's one of the hardest places to play. And then down the road, I mean, you're home against Ohio State. I think he was on the road, or no, he was at home for the last one they played too. So you gotta learn from your mistakes that last year. I think this is I think he's got 3 winnable user games rather than the 2. But we'll move on. I think the next user that has the 5 user games is going to be Florida State. He kind of got the Mickey Mouse here. Just not one of the guys you want to see getting 5 user games, but there was nothing really the committee could do. All of his non-conference games we ended up scheduling as user games. That's the most we could do. It's just the fact that nobody wants to play as the really, really just inferior ACC conference, which is understandable. You see it here. They talk a lot of game. ACC is better, but you see it here. Not many people wanting to play as ACC teams. But we'll get into the schedule. His first user game is Charlotte. He plays at Mississippi State. That is Hail State here. Plays at USC, which is Joker here. Going to face the Auburn Tigers in Lucia at home, and he's going to face Pablo and the Florida Gators at home. What are we thinking here, Joker? We're just going to go over a quick, a prediction here. What's the ceiling FSU record, and what's the realistic record?
If you could just scroll down to the bottom of this schedule again, just to see who they play in the final 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I think just based on last season, Dirt always has a internet lag out CPU game. So I think 8-4 is a realistic record for this team. I mean, the Lucia and Pablo games will be tough. I believe all 5 users he plays are kind of 50-50 games, really can go one way or the other. So I think 8-4 for me is a pretty realistic schedule record.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. We'll hop it over to Hail State here. What's your prediction record here for the Florida State Seminoles this season?
Oh man, it's rough for Florida State in real life right now, and I just looking at the schedule, I just don't think that gets any better in the game. He did say after the loss to Pablo last year, he did say he would be benching DJ, so maybe that helps him out a little bit. But I think 8-4, 7-5 is what we're looking at here. Like Joker said, he always seems to lag out of a CPU game, and then there's controversy there. I think he gets Tiger. At home. But all 4 other user games, I just really don't see him winning against superior talent. But he might go undefeated in the CPU schedule. But I just think Dirt is a guy that just gets left out of the 12-team playoff at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely agree to that. Coming in ranked 11th, they're ranked inside the 12-team playoff if we were to start off the preseason rankings, but thank God it doesn't do that because, I mean, looking at this schedule, I mean, I agree with both you guys. 8-4 probably seems like the most realistic record here for this guy. So, Joker, if you could just introduce us to the next team with 5 user games. I believe there's one more.
There are actually 2. I don't know if whichever you want to dip into. It's Michigan or App State.
We'll start with App State here. Joining the ACC conference, one of the 2 teams that hopped into the ACC. They've got 5 user games. Again, we couldn't find a week 3 matchup here for App State. That's one of the struggles we had, or else he would more than likely be playing somebody here in week 3. But 5 user games, and he's going
And
to start off in week 0 at Mississippi State. That'll be Hale State. He's got Boger in North Carolina. Red Flags Matter in Boise State. A semifinal playoff contender here in Boise. Gonna play Drunk Fest in Miami, and then the defending champion at Louisville in conference play. So pretty tough schedule though. You got 5 user games, but I'd say those 5 user games are you're not gonna come easy.
yeah, and I feel like all 5 user games kind of test, because we don't know how good Williams is. Remember, he was in D2. He hasn't played a user game yet in HPL, so coming from Gnarl, we don't really know how good the user aspect of Williams is, and he gets kind of put to the test in all 5 games. But even like the first week, right, you play Hale State in a loaded SEC. I mean, if you're App State, I mean, I think 4-1 is the best case scenario in his user aspect. The game against DJ will be tough. The game against Boise State will be tough as well, because Boise State got a little love in the college football playoffs, showing how good they are. So we'll just see how they do.
Yeah, and we just don't know about App State. We don't know what this kind of user is about. But I mean, I would say 4-1. That's somewhere right where you want to be. What would you say, Hale State? Maybe what record, the user record, would you put this guy at?
Yeah, I mean, like Joker and Mason have said, it will be. We don't know a lot, but I'm going to make my predictions solely based on the team, because I really don't have a clue about the user aspect. But I'll find out really quickly. Might find out tonight. We don't know. But I'm going to say he loses all 5 of his user games based off the fact that it's App State. He plays at Starkville, best environment in college football. He plays at the Blue Field. He plays at Miami. He plays at defending national champions in Louisville. And his only home game that's a user is North Carolina, and Boger is no slouch, made the playoffs last year. I just think it's a rough season. I do think that he will get better. I do think that he will slowly start to build a program, because App State, we've seen them upset people before. They are no stranger to the upset. He could come out, sock me in the mouth week 0. We just don't know about it. So I'm going to say 6-6, 7-5 based off of the team, not based off of the user.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something I could agree upon as well. We're going to quickly move on to Michigan here. Michigan is Mr. Hex, swapping over from LSU. And he's got a pretty tough schedule, if you ask me. Probably one of the tougher ones we've seen so far. So he's going to play Ole Miss at home in week 1. He's going to play Texas at home in week 2. He'll play at Kansas in week 3. At USC, which is Joker here, in week 4. And then he's got Clemson way down there at week 13, one of the last games of the season. So a really thick AI schedule here. I think maybe might drop this game to Notre Dame here, but other than that, when you look at the user games, I know Hex, and I think if he can go 3-2 in his user games, maybe drop 1 game to the AI, go 9-3, he could definitely end up in the playoffs with that Michigan team. What do you guys think, Joker?
Yeah, and I think I have to agree. I mean, it kind of sucks. You're tested with 4 user games back to back to back to back, and the first 2 are 2 highly ranked users, Riley and Jackson. So we'll see how. I feel like the first 4 weeks kind of show. The first 4 weeks will kind of show what type of Michigan team that we're going to see for this season. 1-3 is also possible, and I think if you're to me, best case scenario is 2-2. Take the split, and then you're just gonna have to rack off all those wins against the user or the CPU.
Yeah, and this late user game here, this week 13 game, this was a big thing for us because both these guys needed a users at this point. And I mean, this game right here could have some serious implications on both these guys' seasons. There's 10 games before this. think about if both of these guys are coming in this game 8-2. Maybe one of them 7-3, other guy's 8-2. That's a huge game for both of these teams. So that'll be an interesting one. That game against Bales there. It plays at Clemson Memorial Stadium, so we'll see how Hex can handle that. We're gonna let Hail State take over the next team that we go to. So who do we go to next? Somebody with 6 users.
Wait, hold on. Before we go, okay, I know that it sounds like I'm hating on everybody that comes up, but I am actually very high on the Michigan Wolverines. Listen, and I might die by saying that, but hear me out. Okay, yes, it's a very hard user schedule, but only one of those are conference games, and we know the top 5, I believe, conference champions get in automatically. All he has to do is knock off USC, and for some reason the game did not give us Michigan-Ohio State, which is tragic, but there's not really much we can do about it. So you could be looking at an 8-5 Michigan Wolverines team that is in the playoffs off of a Big Ten championship. That's what I have. I have Michigan winning the Big Ten, and I know that that's like an unpopular opinion because it's Michigan and they always fall. I think Hex is good enough to where he'll beat Joker. And I know that that's crazy to say here before the season even starts. We even see both teams take the field. But just based off preseason, he beats Joker. He wins all the CPU games. He beats like Dead Dad or someone in the Big Ten title. He's in the playoffs. So I did have Michigan as Big Ten champions and in the playoffs.
Oh. Well, all right. Wow.
I think it would be. I think let's move on to it. Those are all our 5 user games. So now everyone else is above the 6 user game threshold that we talked about. And I think let's dive into West Virginia. Let's give Brody a little love.
Brody.
Let's check out his schedule. And if you look at his schedule, first week against USC at USC. If you kind of have been keeping up, Brody and Jake played an unbelievable West Virginia versus Colorado game. Came down to the last few moments. Both of these users got into Division I. So he goes to USC, plays Mississippi State, plays Kansas. And if we could just scroll down a little bit. Boise State, Cincinnati, and Colorado, a rematch again. So, realistically for Brody, 10-2 is an option. 9-3, 9. Definitely, I think the floor is definitely 8-4. I think the floor is 8-4. I think he can win 1 or 2 of those user games, and if he just runs the board with the CPU, 8-4 is the floor for my opinion, and the ceiling is 10-2.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, but the thing that really pointed out to me was even if he drops these 2 games right here to you and Hail State, I think these are 4 conference games that he could probably win. 4 conference user games that I think he could win. I think he could beat Kansas on the road. I think at home he has the advantage against Boise State. Maybe not the advantage, but he's got a chance to beat Boise State at home. We know the Boise State user is a very, very good user. He's going to have Ginty again as well. So as long as Brody can figure out how to stop the run game from these first 6 opponents and goes into this Boise State game solid, he could win all 4 of these user games and kind of take the Michigan route, 10-2, win the Big 12. If he goes and faces, it depends on who he faces in the Big 12 championship. We could see a West Virginia, Kansas State, conference championship out there in the Big 12.
Definitely. I think he starts 0-2, but he turns it around and he ends up 9-3 because I think he beats Cincinnati. I think he beats Colorado. I think he beats Kansas. The only real issue in the conference he has on his schedule is Boise State. You can't discredit Boise State after what they did last year. So I think 9-3. I think he could be in the fringe going into the final weekend. I think he does get one of the better bowl games. I like Brody myself. I like West Virginia. We saw what they can do with a good coach. They won the 12 last year. So we'll see. I think he does have a tough CPU game. I'm glad you're back there at Utah, depending on how good Utah is by that point in the year. So we'll just see. I think Brody could sneak into the playoffs if people aren't careful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're going to go ahead and hop over to the next team. I think somebody with 6 user games. Joker, I think let's
knock out Let's go to UCF.
Oh, UCF.
Oh, triple option.
DTR.
Yeah, I feel like he's a very polarizing
Yeah, one of the
user.
most polarizing users.
0 and 12. 0 and 12.
He definitely
And,
DM'd me
Just
earlier
kidding.
this
I'm just
morning
kidding.
asking about his schedule, so we'll give him his love now.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just dive in. So he's got 6 user games. He's gonna start off at home versus the defending E1 national champion. So basically, kind of put your money where your mouth is here, and see what you can do against the guy that won the championship. Next up, you'll go against Florida, which is Pablo, a great user at home. Again, it's kind of a battle down there. Gainesville and Orlando. That'll be a fun one to watch, in my opinion. You got at Colorado, which I think this is a win for UCF, more than likely. At Cincinnati, another win for UCF. And then a big Miami game on the road in Hard Rock Stadium. Depends on how Drunkfest can play with Cam Ward. So far, I see him dropping. I see him 2 and 3 here through the user games up until this point, and then electric days. Week 13. Even though you're playing him at home, it's electric with Avery Johnson. So I really just see a 2 and 4 user schedule here, and maybe if you go 8 and 4, you can get yourself a decent bowl game. But more than likely, we'll be seeing him in the Idaho Potato Bowl. Joker?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's going to be put to the test, right? I feel like him and Electric had in an exhibition game they played. It was a really close game, so I think he loses to DJ. DJ knows the Louisville roster more than he does, or Sauce does with UCF. I think he beats Pablo. I think his 2 user losses are Louisville and then Kansas State at the end of the season.
Okay, so do you see him kind of maybe showing up for that Big 12 championship game?
I mean,
With
I think
one loss to Electric.
11 and 1. Like I like to do the ceiling and floor. The floor, I mean, 8 and 4. Floor 6 and 6. That's kind of crazy. I think the floor.
Crazy. I think 6 and 6 is there. I mean, he's also playing a lot of different AI teams. You got to think this guy was Georgia Southern. He was playing some just
high schools,
kind of cupcakes.
So you're playing on the road at TCU. You're playing on the road at Iowa State. You're playing on the road at Texas Tech. These are not slouch teams. So we'll see how he also comes up against the AI too, which I think will be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, he did beat Boise State. So, Boise State ended up being one of the top 8 teams in the country when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
But I do think that the users have figured out how to stop the option by week 5. Once they see it 3 times, I think people will figure out how to stop it. I do think he beats Ty. I don't think he beats Pablo. I think that's crazy talk. I think he's 0 and 2 those first 2 games. I think 8 and 4. 9 and 3, 8 and 4, good ball game. Maybe he'll play West Virginia. It'll be fun, just like the old Big East days. But the option is so one-dimensional, and here's my problem with running a one-dimensional offense like that. Once it's figured out how to stop it, what are you gonna do? If someone figures out how to stop the option, Sauce is not going to win the ball game. I just think that there are 3 or 4 people on the schedule that can figure out how to stop the option.
I agree with you there. I think maybe 10 and 2 ceiling, 6 and 6 floor for these guys, and we're gonna go ahead and ask one of our viewers here to come in and help us review the next schedule. We're gonna do Ohio State next, and I would like to see if Ty Racing is out there watching.
Oh boy,
Ty Racing, there he is.
Big Michigan fan.
So
Big Michigan fan on the Ohio State schedule. I'm sure this will go well.
This is our first fan moment here. The head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats. Ty, we're just gonna have to ask you to quickly make sure your audio is shared in your party settings, and we're gonna help. You're gonna help us go over Ohio State schedule. You're gonna be our fan vote here today. So is your voice shared? Is your voice shared? Well, can you check that for us?
No, we cannot hear him on the stream.
Okay, so your voice is not shared. So you're gonna go over to the party settings and voice chat settings and click to allow.
Voice chat settings. Share your voice. Change to allow.
Yeah. Let us know when you get there, man. Let us know.
Just
Yeah,
reading through some of the comments here, I think
Okay.
the coach of Louisville is calling 10-2 for UCF.
yeah,
I
that's
think
not
that
bad.
we see the coach of Texas saying Charlotte is cooked. And then we have a lot of fan momentum behind a certain team in the SEC that is doing pretty good in real life. But we'll talk about them later. I'm sure that's going to be a segment that's going to be clipped about 1,000 times. But here we are, the Ohio State schedule. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Todd, we're gonna just check out my share screen here if you don't mind.
I have it on my phone on the stream. So
Okay, well, all right, okay. So we're just gonna check out the Ohio State schedule. So we've got Texas A&M at home. You got Cincinnati Bearcats. Ty, we're gonna get into that interview with him here shortly. Then Ohio State's gonna play at Kentucky on the road. Plays Oregon at home. It's gonna be a big game of this mayhem. You got Daltor from Penn State coming. He's going to Penn State, so got to show up again, beat him again. He did this past season, and then USC at home versus Joker. I see Joker definitely maybe pulling out a win here in this game. So we got 6 user games here, but the first one we're going to talk about is the home game versus Cincinnati. So Ty, I just want to ask you, and I think the stream knows we got a lot of guys for the stream that play in here. But I just want to know what's the feeling like, scheduling Cincinnati, and why'd you want to do it? Do you think you can go out and beat them?
You mean scheduling Ohio State?
Oh yeah, scheduling Ohio State.
I wanted a rematch so bad. I was so disgusted how I ended the game against Ohio State when I was Michigan that I'm like, you know what? I want a rematch. I know I'm a different team, but I want a rematch. I want to get another crack at it. So.
Yeah, and I think that it'll be a very interesting game. This is a game I definitely think a lot of people want broadcasted. I think it'll be a lot closer than what people expect. I think Captain Dead Dod's on upset watch because I've played some dynasties with Cincinnati myself, and they have some serious playmakers in that squad. So, but what do you think about Captain's schedule here as we see the 6 user games? He's got Texas A&M and Speed. He's got yourself. He's got Ghost in Kentucky, Mayhem in Oregon, Daltor and Penn State, and then USC and Joker. If you could give us a quick prediction of what he could do with Ohio State in these 6 games, what would you say his record is out of user games?
I think he's going to get blown out by USC for sure. I think Joker. I think Joker is one of the. Well, when I played him, he killed me. I couldn't stop that screen pass at all. So I think Joker is really good. So I think Ohio State's going to have trouble with him. Dalator's Penn State. I think Dalator will beat Captain as well. So I think Penn State will beat Ohio State. Mayhem, I don't know how good he is, so I don't know. I think he will lose to Cincinnati, of course.
Yeah.
I know I think he really will. When I played him the other night. I played him. I thought really well. So I think that will be another loss. But those are 3 losses there. I think he shouldn't have no problem with his non-user games. I think beating Wisconsin and stuff should be easy. I think Texas A&M will be another loss. But
all right, yeah. So probably 2 and 4.
Do you have him going 0-6? I don't know. This might be a little personal.
No. I think Captain isn't that great. Okay.
Oh,
honestly.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Like his record last season. I think he got lucky in many ways. What
Just
was
call
he
it a
like?
Cupcake. Just call it a cupcake.
He only had what, 3 losses last season in the regular season. I just think he got very lucky. So I think he's in for an awakening this season. Definitely.
Sure.
It'll be a lot tougher.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ty. We're gonna we'll send you back to the YouTube channel or chat. Yeah, we appreciate you hopping in here and giving us your opinion. I knew you were going to spice things up for us. Hopefully that Cincinnati and Ohio State rivalry lives up to the hype. I think it is going to be one of the more anticipated games in the league in this upcoming season.
I'll go back and watch in the stream, and hopefully you guys do me next, because I want to see what you guys say about my schedule.
Yeah, we will. We'll head over to Cincinnati next. So,
all right.
All right,
That is
buddy.
a 7-user game, so
So Joker and
if we
Hail State, we
wanna-
want to try to get through these a little bit more quicker. We'll go to a couple
Yeah.
more guys later on in the future, but quick prediction: Ohio State. Let's go ceiling and floor. Joker.
I mean, ceiling 9-3.
Okay.
I don't see a win against Oregon. I don't see a win against Speed in Texas A&M, and then I don't obviously see a win against USC. So I think 9-3 the floor, or no, I'm sorry, 9-3 the ceiling, and 7-5 the floor.
Yeah.
I just disagree. I think he's a playoff team. I had him in my bracket. I think he does beat Speed. I think he does beat Ty. I think he does beat Ghost. I think he takes a loss to Mayhem, and then I think he beats Daltor. I think he's in the Big Ten title game. He loses to Hex, but I think he gets the final spot. And I just think that a lot of people are discrediting Daltor, but you got to remember, this is Ohio State we're talking about here. Look at the defense. I mean, they got the best defense in the game by rating. So no matter how you slice it, they're going to be good. I think playoffs, I think first round exit, but I think playoffs for Ohio State.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really bold. Thank you for dragging that out as much as you could. So we're gonna go ahead and go to Cincinnati next. This is Ty Racing. He just joined us as a fan vote here, and he has got a absolute gauntlet. I love Ty. I would have said it to his face if he was here, but in the user schedule, I see him going with a loss at Oregon, wins against at Ohio State. I definitely have Ty in this game 100%. Ohio State are frauds. We're going to move on to Charlotte there. I think that is a loss for Ty. I think UCF, that's another sauce. I think that's a loss for Ty there. Jake, probably going to be a loss for Ty there. At Brody, at West Virginia, based on the West Virginia Boise State game or what West Virginia Colorado game, if he's losing to Colorado, that's probably going to be a loss there at West Virginia, and then he's got to play Boise State, which is more than likely a loss in that user schedule. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 user games for the Cincinnati Bearcats, and I mean 1 in 6 maybe in these user games. You want to win all your AI games. If you win all your AI games, you'll still make a bowl game. But overall, yeah, I mean, just look at it, man. It's just tough, man. And no shame on the user, but you definitely are doing something right when you go from Michigan to Cincinnati. It's just not sorry.
I think you need to highlight that Week 6 matchup as a potential preview
Just
for the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, like definitely. Just two guys that absolutely have no idea what they're doing with their future in their program.
I think Tiger pulls the upset. I'm sorry.
no.
I don't mean to hate on Ty because it's a popular thing to do in this server. I don't think he wins a user game. I think he goes 5-7 and misses his ball game. I'm sorry. I like the guy, but
Joker,
I'm sorry.
Ceiling,
but
Joker, ceiling.
What?
Ceiling?
I mean, just to make this go faster, I think we should all at least claim one and then talk about it and then move on. But ceiling is 8-4. Floor 4-8.
All right. We appreciate that, and we'll give you your recommendation. I'm kind of cutting through the teams that a few people won't talk about. You guys definitely have some teams to talk about. Trust and believe. But we're gonna move on here. I'm not really down with the picking by how many user games anymore. We're gonna keep spicing it up. I think we're gonna move on to another polarizing guy, somebody that's just been in the league a while, one of the top-rated users from what we know, and that is Kansas State of Electric.
Oh man,
I think
we're gonna let
my
Joker,
preseason national champion.
This is your
I just gotta
preseason
say.
national champion. All right. Well, we're gonna let Joker take over here for this Kansas State team.
I'll mark this one off the notes that I have, and I'll kind of dive into it. At Texas, he kind of wanted this matchup because Riley, he just did not agree with Riley being the D2 division leader, giving him his forced losses. Kind of lost those games, so he definitely wanted that matchup. So at Texas, going to be a tough game. I think Electric pulls that one out. I mean, look at the first 3 user games: Jackson, DJ, Riley. You can't have a tougher 1, 2, and 3 than that, right? So I think, if he beats all 3 of them, I just don't see another person he loses to. He plays KU and Charlotte, and then the Sauce game. So to me, he has 4 really difficult games ahead of him, and I think if he wins the first 3, it's tough for me to see him losing another game.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you're spot on there. I think if he can get through these 3 users, he's going undefeated and breezing into the college football playoff as 12-0. But we're gonna have a quick word here. He'll say if you can just invite the head coach of the Charlotte 49ers to the party. He's gonna be.
Oh boy.
He's calling.
Well, while we're sitting here inviting him, I think that they're my preseason national champion.
Okay.
I think 12-0. The only team on his schedule that comes close is Riley.
Online,
But Tiger is not online, so we don't know how.
I know who we should invite. I just invited him to the party.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
hope
anyway.
he joins.
Yeah, 12-0, Kansas State national championship. I'm sorry to call it like it is, but I haven't seen Electric lose a game to anyone but me, and I got really lucky when I did it. So
Here we go.
Here he is.
This is what we want. This is a perfect person, just the perfect person to add into the commentary booth. It is the Bama, the Alabama.
And we're gonna mix it up here. Normally, we're gonna let the other head coaches review maybe a rival's schedule or something. We're gonna let Alabama review his own schedule. I don't know if he's been able to see this yet, but the former Clemson head coach, 3-9, getting the swap over to Alabama. First team in waiver wires. He's gonna have Jalen Milroe, arguably the most electric player in college football. But here is the reveal for the Ready of God in Alabama. We're just gonna dive in here very quickly. You got Mayhem at home.
If you're here, then you have the floor.
Yeah, what do you think?
Taking a look at my schedule, with probably the greatest user on the field here. We're destroying Oregon. We're getting a game of the week there. I think our ceiling is 12-0. I have confidence. I have confidence that we will win every user game with a little bit of time and effort. And I strongly believe Georgia is a game I'm targeting. It will be a repeat of in real life last night's game. And after that game, we will have something special planned. The Jingle Bells. Here it is.
He rings the Mississippi State cowbell in an Alabama prediction. Wow.
All right, well, we appreciate that. So you say 12-0. Hill State, what are you thinking here with the user games
0-12.
and just 0-12?
No, not 0-12, not 0-12. Actually, I think he beats Western Kentucky. I think he beats Vanderbilt. I think he beats FCS.
So 3-9 again, maybe.
I'm sorry. I was going to say maybe he goes 7-5.
You know what? A realistic one, I'm going 7-5. So.
I mean, I just don't see a user win on the schedule.
I think Heredia and Joker will be a preview of a national championship. Watch.
And Heredia, we want you to stay. Heredia, you're just going to stick around for this next team here. Thank you. So we got a prediction in for Alabama. We're going to go over to USC, Southern California. The head coach. Always Joker. He plays Brody and yourself at home, followed by Michigan at home. Then he travels to KU on the road at Kansas. He's going to take on Florida State at home, and then his last user game will be at Ohio State. So 6 user games here. What is his overall record, ceiling and floor, Heredia?
Let's take a look at the schedule here. West Virginia, I think he goes 0-2 to start. Just being honest.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
He's got Mr. Hexton, Michigan at number 4 there. Week 4.
do see him having a good game with Hex, but I think it goes 0-3. But I do see a couple wins here coming back. I do see a couple wins. Wisconsin and Kansas. I think he's 2-3 right now. Just go a little bit more down.
Yeah, it's just a long run. Call.
This is just a tough schedule here for USC.
Yeah,
Trojans. I think he goes 6-6. I think he has a little bit of a better season.
6-6, okay.
But I think he struggles. I think there's some really tough user games, but I feel like he will get there at the end. He's a long run card, you know.
Maybe
Yeah.
at 8-4 on the back end.
Maybe he's 7-5 at his best, but
Yeah.
I gave him 9-3.
Yeah,
I gave him 9-3.
I gave him 9-3 in my prediction as well. A lot of guys in the chat gave him 9-3. But thank you, Heredia, and we'll see you in the season in week 0. I don't know if you have a week 0 game.
He does against Mayhem.
Oh yeah, Mayhem.
Oh,
we have
Riley.
Riley.
Game of the week.
We have Riley and
Unfortunately, we do not promote 3 and 9
Heredia.
users from the season
And
before.
Oh.
All right.
So we're gonna
I'm
have
12
to
and 0.
kind of
Well,
prove
thank
it
you,
to
Heredia.
us.
And we're gonna move on here. We're gonna go to some unsung heroes next.
I think we need to go to Florida because the head coach of the Florida Gators just walked in this building.
Oh, okay. Well, we could if you put him on the mic.
I think we need to. Yeah. Okay. So I think here comes the head coach of the Florida Gators. If you could flip over to Florida's schedule, Pablo, you are live on the YouTube to a tune of 13 people.
13 people. Yep.
All right. Well, what's up,
up, guys?
Pablo? Hey, man, we're gonna go
What's
over your
up?
schedule here. If you can just
Oh,
look
I don't know
at
how the headset
Hail
quality got
State's
worse.
screen, you're gonna
I
see
don't
your
know if that
schedule.
set Caleb had on.
So, funny thing about Florida's schedule here is they've got the back-to-back bye week here, the SEC back-to-back bye week thing, you know. But they also play every user game back-to-back weeks. So you've got Boise State and Red Flags week 0. You got Sauce and UCF week 1. You got Speed and Texas A&M week 3. Hail State week 4 there. McCard week 7. Ghost week 8. Myself week 10. Riley week 11. And you got the last two with Jackson Altman week 13 and Florida State week 14. Now, my personal prediction for this Florida team is going to be 11-1. They're going to win the SEC and more than likely be the second or third seed heading into the playoffs. I think they're the best SEC team coming out this year. I think Dylan's just going to change what he does with DJ Lagway. Maybe not have anything to do with Graham Mertz. I don't say that he did, but just develop DJ Lagway more. He's also going to be able to recruit. So even in the future seasons, you know, going to be able to possibly do that. I know a lot of people don't think with this schedule he could do that, but 11-1, maybe 10-2 are looking good for the Florida Gators.
Where do you think the losses are, Mason?
Well, the losses, I just think the loss comes at Texas on the road at Texas Memorial Stadium or at Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, just me diving
Exactly.
into the schedule, I kind of just want to pump the brakes on the 11-1s and the 12-0s. Just a really tough user schedule. I think the ceiling 9-3. Just gonna
Not
be
everybody
honest.
can go
9-3.
9-3 though. You know, just not everybody in the world can
Yeah.
go 9-3. And I just think the
Yeah.
Florida Gators and the head coach, I think they're going to be that team that can like take that to the next level, to the Kansas State level, to the Tennessee level that we saw this past season. But I think that Tennessee dynasty is crumbling. Anyway, you know, I think that's it. I think 11-1, 10-2. I think not everybody can go 9-3, and I think he's one of those guys that's going to take it to the next level, like the Kansas State level, maybe like the West Virginia level we saw this past year, the Louisville level we saw.
And I can also see
9-3 with the
4-8.
schedule is a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
it's a
yeah,
playoff team.
right. 9-3
And
should be the goal
4-8,
for the.
4-8 is
for-
ridiculous, by the way.
But 4-8 is also an option, right? Like you play Boise State, you play UCF, you play Speed, you play Hail State, you play McCall. I think the only guarantee, like more than 70% win percentage, is Kentucky. I'm gonna be honest.
That's the
Maybe
only thing.
maybe Texas A&M. I think those are the two. I think everyone else is 50-50 and
I
just
played
kind of see what we get.
Dirt, which that's happened already. We've done that. We've seen that
Yeah.
movie.
So
Yeah, so
I think,
Dylan, just give us your quick prediction here. What's your prediction
My
for your own record?
prediction, I'm predicting anywhere from the 8-4 to the 10-2 range.
confident.
Anywhere,
Okay.
and I think I make the playoffs with any of those. I think I can make the playoffs going 8-4, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
With the
yeah,
schedule.
8-4, 10-2. Well, we appreciate the realisticness, but I don't know, man. I think the Gators, Lagway, especially coming off of what happened last season, personally, I wouldn't take that kind of backhand by Georgia in the first round of the playoffs, but you should probably come back out and go 10-2, 11-1 in my opinion, and maybe win the SEC this year instead of Tennessee, because I'm not so high on the guys in orange up north. Which I think that's the next schedule we should go to. We'll keep Pablo
They're going
around
to
for this
Tennessee
one.
now.
Yeah.
See, okay.
Thank you, Dylan, for being here. And
He's high on Tennessee. I'm high on Tennessee too.
I'm high. I'm also high on Tennessee, but
Here we
we all
go.
can't
Tennessee
be high on
balls.
Tennessee.
I had Tennessee repeating as SEC champions.
Yeah, Hail State. Let's dive in here. I gave my SEC champion, and that was Florida Gators.
You got Florida winning the SEC.
Yeah, so far, I've got Kansas State winning the Big 12 and Florida winning the SEC. But let's dive in. You can take the reins here with Tennessee.
Yes. So I think my card, like it last year, has a really good Tennessee Vols team. I had him in the national championship game losing to Electric. I think this schedule, 10-2. I think as you scroll down, I think he does non-conference. He's undefeated. He loses 2 games between UGA, Florida State, and Oklahoma. I think out of those 4, he goes 2-2, finishes 10-2, wins the conference, and goes on to the playoff, and is a national championship runner-up.
Well, that's a very bold prediction, and but I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think 10-2, 11-1 maybe, but I don't see him. I see him losing to Florida. I see him maybe losing to you, like you said, and I definitely see him losing to me at Sanford Stadium again. As far as beating me a lot outside the league, like in league games, Georgia has had Tennessee's number 2-0. So I think maybe 9-3 at the worst, 8-4. You're pushing it, We're gonna see how good Mayhem is at Penn State, though. This is a pivotal game. I think this is an underdog game, in my opinion. This is a game that's gonna get overlooked. I think Daltor, he's playing at Beaver Stadium. I think this game could be a lot closer than what the people may say. So, but anyways, we'll move on quickly. Tennessee consensus is probably 11-1, 10-2 SEC championship game, maybe against Florida. We're gonna go ahead and move on. I think our next guy.
Trying to suggest Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. We'll go to Mayhem.
Oregon. Okay.
Yeah.
He's kind of interesting.
Everyone loves Mayhem, right?
You either love him or you hate him.
Joker, we'll let you take over here.
I mean, yeah, I feel like this is kind of kind of like me, kind of some on the cupcake side, right? I mean, Alabama, I'm sorry. I mean, I just think that's kind of just a waste of time. Ty, I feel like that's also a waste of time. And you get the first kind of real matchup against Tennessee, right? Mayhem did struggle against Tennessee when they played multiple times in exhibition games. So, if we could just scroll down to the remaining of the schedule, and then we have Ohio State and Penn State. So only, I believe, 5 users. Yeah, 5 users. So yeah, I think a cupcake. I think 4-1. I think a 4-1. But I think big picture, all the user games are, I believe, ranked opponents besides Ty. So if he can, I think 10-2 is realistic.
Yeah, well, his schedule didn't save.
What happened?
His schedule didn't save.
Oh, okay. I did notice that. We're gonna make a quick live adjustment. We did have Oregon versus, I believe it was Kansas State. Wasn't it Kansas State?
I think it was. No. I can't remember. Was it Bowden?
I don't think we should touch it live, but
we're
touching it live. We're touching it.
Oh, we're gonna
South Carolina. He had T-Bird. Yeah.
It was South Carolina in week 4. We're gonna make a live adjustment here, fellas. This was supposed to be put in, but it was not safe. So week 4 for Mayhem, he does get a little user game added on there, and that's also not a cupcake.
Yep, and that kind of cancels out my cupcake theory. Can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So I think he beats T-Bird. I think the only loss is against Tennessee on the road. So yeah. I think 11-1 is. I think in the Big Ten, I believe the one that win him the championship.
Well, he'd go to the conference championship, and he is my
11-1. Yeah, I think 11-1 is to me. I would be shocked if it's anything past 3 losses.
Yep. Well, someone's calling me, so you're gonna have to take over.
Yeah, if you could just switch it to a different team. Let's kind of dive into let's dive into UNC. Let's dive into UNC schedule. That is Tennessee. That's not UNC, North Carolina. Yeah, so polarizing guy, big Niners fan. You just know what you're going to get with Boger, and know what you're going to get with the schedule. Wuchia, Mr. Williams, Louisville, first 3 user games, 3 in a row actually. Jake, Clemson, and then Miami. And for making the playoffs this year, I think there's definitely a doubt of if he can make the playoffs with the user games that he has, for sure.
I think that the Tar Heels take a big step back. I think the winnable user games, I think he does get Williams. I think he wins at App State. I think he loses to Auburn, definitely loses to DJ. I look at that Colorado game as a trap game. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Jake beats Boger, and then he goes on to lose at Clemson, and then he loses to Miami because Drunk is no slouch either. Missing the playoffs, 7-5. I just don't think Boger is ready for the test that's going to be thrown at him with this new user schedule.
And I think we're done with the North Carolina schedule. Kind of go a little bit quicker. We've been doing this for an hour, and I think we'll kind of I would dive into Boise State. Let's kind of look at their schedule. We moved this team to the Big 12, and you start off week 0, Florida, right? So you get tested to see how the Lynn kind of, you would call it a Lynn sanity run in the playoffs. If you think that Boise State, you get put to the true test to see how you're going to come out in the new season against Florida. Then you play Williams. Again, don't know the Williams user aspect, so we don't know what we're getting into with him. Colorado. I think Boise State wins that pretty easily. The game against Missouri, the rematch, remember, Shake was at West Virginia last year, moves to Missouri this year. I think Shake wins this game. I think the team aspect, him being on the road, Boise State, I think he loses that one. And then I think he beats Brody, and I think he wins the remaining user games he has against Ty and against Brody. So, this, I hate to everyone's all having a good user schedule and schedule overall, but 2 losses, if anything more than 3 losses would kind of be shocking for Boise State.
Yeah, I had him as a national semifinalist. I think the only loss on the schedule is to Pablo and Shake, but 10-2 otherwise.
Yeah, and we'll move on. Helsay, I'll let you pick the next team.
Oh, let me pick. Okay. Let's go. You know what? Let's go to Georgia. The Devil went down to Georgia. I think we're going to follow him. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Mason.
You can kind of dip into this and talk about
because, and this wasn't intentional actually, but my other national semifinalist, the Georgia Bulldogs, I think that Georgia goes 11-1 with a loss to Tennessee or Texas, one of the two.
Has to be one.
11-1. He goes 1-1 in the Texas and the Tennessee game. He gets to the college football semifinal, and McCard finally gets the better of him, and he loses to McCard in the semifinals. I think 11-1 is what you're looking at here. 10-2 last year. This is a lot tougher of a schedule for him, but I think that after the playoff run last year, I think he's well battle tested. So I'll go 11-1 national semifinalist, and yeah, that's my prediction. Joker, what do you have?
I kind of thought Mason was going to win it all after beating McCart twice, beating Pablo, but it stopped at Jackson. I kind of think the same record, 10-2. I feel like he kind of has a number on the Tennessee team, and I think he loses to. I think there's a trap game, somewhere in here. I think there's a trap game.
Mississippi State.
It could be Mississippi State, and it also could be the Auburn game.
Could be Auburn. Could be Ole Miss. Could be Florida. I mean, just a loaded conference. That's what you get. You get a lot of games that you're not expecting to be challenging, but they end up being. I think week 1's challenging. I'm high on the Clemson Tigers and Arbels. I think that's a challenge.
Yeah, and I think we can move to Arbels. I'm fighting him in a very heated fantasy battle. And, with Arbels, for bringing up NASCAR and college football, he's either Corey LaJoie or Kyle Larson in all his user games. He's either really bad or really good, and Bales might give up 28 and a quarter, but he also might score 28 and a quarter. If we just look at his user schedule, first game at Georgia, that's kind of a big test, right? And then he gets to play at home against Penn State. I believe he went to Penn State, so that'll be a kind of a emotional game for him. And then he plays Tiger. I mean, it's kind of tough to see how he plays against Tiger and Boger in week 9, because we don't know if he's going to be Corey LaJoie or Kyle Larson, right? Because in all the user games, he came back for, I believe he was down, 30 to dirt, Florida State, and he came back to tie the game, and eventually lost that game. And then he has Hex and T-Bird. I mean, I think these are 2 losses, but it depends on what type of Bales we'll get.
Yeah. I say 9-1 going into the Michigan game, drops Michigan, drops Carolina 9-3, and drops the ACC championship to Mac, and ends up 9-4 out of the playoffs, unfortunately. But I think he's on the border. I think if he wins if he can beat either Michigan or South Carolina at the end of the season, he's in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think Mason's still not here, so we'll kind of dive in. I believe he just joined the Simp Party. Let's dive into Colorado, the Buffaloes. Let's dive into Colorado's schedule. And, just really tough, right? Tiger, Steezy, Sauce, Orange, Boger, Ty. All 6 of his 7 at the beginning of the season, and then he has a Brody rematch. I mean, I just kind of see this as a down year for Colorado. I think the final 3 games are the easier games, and I think he enters the season 1-5 or 1-4. I think he loses both to, unfortunately, and we love Jake, but I just think a loss to Tiger, a loss to Steezy, a loss to Sauce, and then a loss to Boise State. But I think long run car, he gets it back going with the more CPU favored second half of the schedule and comes back to win the remaining of those games. So if he loses the first 4 and wins the remaining 8, that's 8-4. So
yeah, I think y'all giving Tiger too much credit. I think Jake beats Tiger, loses to Oklahoma. I think 6-6. I think he does make a bowl game. Obviously, 2 back-to-back tough user start-off conference play. But like I said, beating UNC, beating Cincinnati later down the stretch, I think it'll come down to the Brody game. If he beats Brody again, he's bowl eligible. If not, 5-7. But I don't think that Colorado's that bad this year. I just don't see that happening with Shooter and Travis Hunter.
Yeah. And we'll let you pick the next schedule. You can kind of pick the next schedule.
Let's preview our good buddy north of the border, and let's go down to Aggie Land, and let's look at Texas A&M.
SEC user a lot in the conference. Hell, State, break it down for us.
I think he loses week 1. I think Ohio, the Horseshoe. I think he loses to Florida. I think he loses to Shake.
Oh, no.
I think he loses to me.
Himself, yeah.
I think he loses to T. Oh. Okay. I don't mean to be mean, but he's not winning a user game. I don't think he wins a user game. I think he goes 5-7. I'm not mean to be mean to Speed. I love Speed. I love Speed, especially when I'm playing him in 2K. But I think 5-7. I think that he I think he wins every CPU game, so I mean, he can hang his head on that. But yeah, just rough going for the Texas Aggies this year.
Oh, Speed says you better keep yourself
You better
safe.
keep yourself safe. I'm
And
sorry, Speed. I'm sorry,
think-
Speed. I do love you, but I just don't believe in that Texas A&M that much.
We have a lot of SEC users, so I think we should dive into our league. One of our league owners.
Are we going
Texas.
across the state? Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
I think we're, and I don't think Mason's here. So I mean, the Kansas State matchup, you're tested right away. At home, so that's going to be a good game. It would be a season-setting win, in my opinion, if you can beat Kansas State in the Week 0 game, to kind of kick off the season well. And then if you beat him, I feel like it's tough for you to lose to anyone else. I feel like there's a win at Michigan, a win at Mississippi State, a win at Oklahoma, and I think the Georgia game is the next test. And if he can win those two, I just think 12-0 could be an option here.
I think 11-1, 10-2 with a loss to Electric, and then either a loss to Mason or Pablo.
Yeah.
So 11-1, 10-2 makes the playoffs for me. Riley, no slouch either, as we went back and forth in Madden back in the day, and I assume that since he did so well in D2, that it has transferred, and he does have Texas, which is one of the most well-rounded teams in the game. So playoffs for the Longhorns, as we can move on to the next team.
Yeah, we have a lot of SEC teams, and I think we're going to start with Charlotte before we knock out all of them. And
Oh man,
I mean, this is just kind of tough too.
He might go 0-12.
I mean, Jake, that's kind of a 50-50 game. Florida State, I think. I mean, Dirt's kind of started the running up the score process. So I think 1-1. I think 1-2. I think he beats Ty. I think he loses to Bales, and I think he loses to Electric too.
Electric
and DJ. And then that's kind of the worst possible thing to have. And I think it's a perfect time to bring in our beloved Nathan Juergens after seeing Ross Chastain winning the Kansas race, and he's not online again. This is just embarrassing.
I think.
It says he's online. He's in the party, appearing offline. This is a celebrity now. That is my apologies. This is a celebrity.
Cincinnati will not be losing to Charlotte, according to the head coach of Cincinnati.
Tiger's appearing online now. He heard my message. We are not.
No, I just disagree.
Nathan Juergens is here, and let's kind of break down your schedule. You have the floor.
I hope my mic is working. Is it?
It is.
Sure. Oh, that's a first. We upgraded actually from ACC or AAC. I don't know what it's called, but let's just go through the schedule. You just gotta let me know if my mic cuts out. Colorado, we got paid $2 million, so we're just gonna take it as an easy game to win there. Florida State, that's a blowout. Georgia, that's a pretty easy win if you ask me. At home, the stadium's going to be rocking. 15,000 fans in attendance, sold out crowd. I just don't see a way we lose there to #1 Georgia. Tie, that's a trap game I think for us. So we'll just have to play it as we go. You know, it's a tough one there. Clemson, I mean, I think we lose that game to be honest. It's just the way it is. Electric days.
At home,
you know, Electric, he might be the best user, but everyone's like, you know, anything can happen in the playoffs. This isn't the playoffs, but this is my Super Bowl right there. That is my Super Bowl. But these 2 weeks are actually my Super Bowl, to be honest. The defending champions and Kansas State, the alleged two best teams in this league, I just don't see. This is our Super Bowl. That's our time to shine.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, I see maybe a 9-3, maybe best 9-3, but the thing is about the conference games, I see you losing one conference game to Louisville. So if that's the case, you know, you could still find yourself in the conference championship or in the college football playoff.
I just have to agree. I think Louisville is definitely a game we could lose. It just depends on how the guys are feeling when we come out the tunnel.
Yeah, we'll let you take us to another team. I think Auburn was requested.
Oh, am I
Yeah,
doing
let's-
Auburn here?
Yeah, break it down for us.
Well, I'm a little disappointed as I don't see Ole Miss on the schedule. I don't believe they're on there.
Maybe a later game.
That might be a little bit.
The
that's a
Rebels
disappoint-
dodge.
That's a disappointment after Inside Merchant and other allegations were spammed after that playoff game. You know, North Carolina Lucia, I think he's just gonna win that game.
Probably blows them out by 50, really.
He wins. I think it's Steezy. I think he'll win that game. Georgia, could go either way. I think it's in Stanford Stadium. We'll give Georgia the win there. So Missouri, I'll give Shake the win there. Just away game. Kentucky, I think he'll win. I think he wins actually all the way out. Maybe Alabama's a trap game. Everyone's saying Heredia is not 3-9. He's not built for the moment, but you know, Heredia, he's going to shock a lot of people this year. He's going to be that guy. He's going to be there when it matters the most at the end of the season. I think the ceiling for this team is 11-1. The floor is maybe 8-4, 9-3.
All right. Well, thank you, Nathan, for just leading us through a couple more teams. Joker, how many more teams do we have left?
I think we're within the 10 range. I think we're within 10.
Next.
Yeah, let's kind of dive into Kansas. We dived into Auburn, and then Mason, you can dive into Kansas.
Yeah, so Kansas starting out. I don't think they're winning this game here against Missouri. That's shake and bake. Maybe on the road, with two electric quarterbacks in Cam Ward and whoever Kansas has. I forgot his name, but he's electric. I know that.
Derek Daniels.
Yeah, Drayden Daniels. We'll move on. Michigan. I don't know. Probably gonna see Kansas lose here. So far, 1-2 in user games. West Virginia 2-2 picks it back up with a win against Brody. 3-2 picks up a huge win at home against the USC.
Disagree
Trojans.
there strongly.
And then we'll move on to Kansas State, which I think he's gonna lose that game. So maybe can go 3-3 in user games. Wins his AI games. He'll be sitting at 9-3. Possibly could make the playoffs. Kansas Jayhawks in the Big 12, 9-3. They could do it. But yeah, 3-3 user games, 9-3 ceiling. Joker?
Yeah, I just think it's 2-4. Disrespectfully, I just don't think we lose to Kansas there. But just a very interesting schedule. We don't really know the KU talent level, and he gets put to the test with, to me, 4 really tough user games.
Yeah.
4 of the first 5.
Yeah, all right. Well, Hail State, you're going to go ahead and take the reins for Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Oh, how I love Kentucky after what they did yesterday. The Kentucky Wildcats. Oh.
Hurry up.
I think he starts 1-4. I'm sorry, and then keep scrolling.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no. Oh me, oh my.
We're just gonna move on to the next person because I think that the longer I stay at this, I just feel bad for saying anything. So we're just gonna keep it on.
Oh, Miami. We haven't talked about Miami.
Miami, Cam Ward and Drunk
I
Fest.
don't hate Miami. I don't hate Drunk. I like what he brings to the table. Just keep going. Okay. I think 10-2 is possible. Playoffs possible. I also think 6-6 is possible.
I think 12-0 is possible. I think 12-0 is
I think
possible.
there's
Look at
something
this
that stands out in the week 10, I believe.
just Cam
Or
Ward,
week
man.
8. Week 8, and I'm sorry.
I know Louisville. If Drunkfest could get Cam Ward and figure Cam Ward out and be a solid contender, this could be a 12-0 Miami team, 11-1 Miami team. Just strong if
It could be.
he can work Cam Ward.
It can also be 6-6.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to. Have we done North Carolina?
we have not done Oklahoma.
We did. We have not done Oklahoma. Steezy.
We have a lot of SEC teams left.
Oh man. I think Steezy sits at about 3-3 mid-season, And then after those three, 4 and 5. Oh no.
And the remaining teams
Maybe a
are
7-5
SEC
season.
teams.
A little 7-5er, because I don't think Oklahoma has their quarterback situation figured out in real life either.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold's not the guy.
So I think 7-5 is what you're looking at here if you're an Oklahoma fan. I know JoJo's probably crying about that in the corner, but oh boy, I can see who we're going to next, and I don't like it.
Yeah, Ole Miss, and I feel like this is perfect for Hail State to break down the schedule.
Is it perfect? Okay, that's a loss. I do think he takes a loss to Hex, takes a loss to Electric. He's 1-2, bounce back-to-back wins, 3-2, 6-2, 7-2, 7-3. 7-4, 7-5, 7-5.
You think he
7-5 for the Rebels.
loses it all in the final 3 games.
7-5, and I just think that honestly, the nail in the coffin will be the Mississippi State Bulldogs. You know,
Terrible.
just the cowbell.
Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more teams. So let's dive into South Carolina. And we got at Kentucky, at Oregon, then Jackson, Heredia, Steezy, Speed, Shake, and then our Bills. I mean, I think kind of 7-5. I mean, but we don't know what type of T-Bird we're going to get. T-Bird that beat Electric, or T-Bird that I believe didn't play any of his last few games in the final few weeks. So if it's a T-Bird that beat Electric, this could be a championship type of player. If we get some inactivity, then we'll see what we get there.
I think 8-4. 8-4 is a solid year for the Gamecocks.
Yeah. And we're 3 teams left. We'll dive into Missouri. Whenever Mason is here.
We'll go to Missouri.
We could just go
playoff
to the
team
top
for me.
Of the schedule.
Playoff team, I think.
Yeah, Mr. Shaky, break it down.
Yep. Playoff team. He starts off the year 6-0, 7-0. I think he drops to. I'm gonna call an upset against Auburn, and then I'm going to say 11-1. With maybe an ACC championship game appearance. I have him in the playoffs. He will be close. Of course, you know, those Mississippi State Bulldogs are going to be tough in Week 13. Oklahoma will be a tough one. Steezy's no slouch. T-Bird will be tough. Just get through the challenges. I think maybe some growing pains if he experiences those in the SEC. He ends up 9-3 missing, but I think 10-2, 11-1, and a playoff appearance for the Missouri Tigers.
And we have 2 teams left. One of them is in this party, and the other is the defending champ. So whichever one you want to dive into first. We're going to dive into the users. So Hail State, I feel like let's dive into the person with the most users with 11. Hail State, you have the floor. Mm-hmm. Break down your own schedule.
Yep. Easily the hardest schedule in the conference, but I don't play online Dynasty to play CPU games, and I figured if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging. I think after those first 6, I'm sitting at 4-2. I think then
where are the 2 losses?
Texas and Louisville, and then 4-3, 5-3, 6-3, 6-4. 7-4, 8 or no, 7-5, 7-5. Okay, and listen, y'all. I know because I think that Mississippi State. Obviously, we're not the best, and I do have to play everybody. It seems like on the road, but I think if we can string together some momentum, string together a couple upsets. We'll be 9-3 and we'll be in the playoffs. Or 8-4. 8-4 with this schedule is a playoff team. That's all I'm saying. I don't give a crap what you know what? That Louisville comment's making me angry. I'm beating Louisville. We're going 8-4. We're making the playoffs. Thank you.
Okay. And I think the final schedule, Louisville.
Yeah, I got Hail State going 11-1. Losing to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we moved on. I'm sorry.
Really? Okay.
11-1, and that's just kind of too bold for me. I think 8-4, 7-5, maybe even 6-6 are on the cards for Mississippi State.
I just think Virginia Tech is awful.
Just a weak ACC Mickey schedule. Really, you got at UCF. It's probably gonna be an easy win. Hail State, like I said, is probably going to beat them. So 1-2 here for the defending champs. Walking to North Carolina, that's an easy win for Louisville. Might run them out of the building. Might be a new college football scoring record. You never know when it comes to that game. So I would say 2-2 in the user records, 3-2 overall at this point. You're going to pick up a couple more wins here. This game right here is huge. I said this game was going to be pivotal. I'm still standing on that. I think coming into this game, Louisville is going to be 4-2, and I think Miami will be undefeated up until this point. So I think if Miami can just hold their ground against Louisville in this game, or even if they do lose, they're still going to find themselves in the ACC championship. I'm high on Drunker. I think Miami, Cam Ward will make a stop. Then you got Williams, the easy win for Lamar. Easy win for Lamar against Charlotte. Easy win for Lamar against Kentucky. So the defending champs could easily go back to the playoffs, but just 2 losses right here guaranteed, I think, in Mississippi State and Kansas State.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a perfect time. We're done with all 32 users, so let's sim to the next week.
Yeah, we're gonna
real quick before we end the stream and before we see them. Who are you guys as national championship picks? I went Kansas State over Tennessee.
I mean, I think it's going to be a dance with the devil, and the minorities are going to stay on top, and we're going to go Louisville and Kansas State in the final. And I have Louisville going back to back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna simply
We're gonna ride with our son.
Number one team in the nation. Might as well ride on yourself, right? Definitely have myself making the national championship this go around, and I think I'll be facing a SEC team in either Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas, another SEC team. I think the ACC just very inferior conference, as well as the Big 12 over there. I think the SEC as a group, we're gonna fight each other a lot, but as a whole, I think we should all support one another in winning the national championship, because the ACC is they're just not good, and it proves with Nikki's schedules here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ACC users thought they were so good last year that half of them joined the SEC this year.
All right, boys. Well, we're gonna force advance here. Get your recruiting boards ready. I could definitely just leak my recruiting board to the world right here, but I'm just not going to do it.
I don't think we're going to do that.
So here we go.
I think we're just going to advance live.
Force advance live.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mississippi State Bulldogs take on the App State Mountaineers.
And we are in week 1, or week 0, excuse me. So people can start playing their games.
Ladies and gentlemen, season 2
Everybody's
is
here.
here.
Take a quick peek. Let's go look at Mason Pope real quick. Look at me.
Oh my God, that looks just like you.
Look at me.
Just like you.
And I think we're going to wrap up the stream.
And gentlemen.
And 2 3-stars locked me out. Great start to the season, boys.
Thanks for watching.
But before we kind of end the stream, actually, let's go to CFB and actually look at all the user games this week.
Good idea.
So let's see. Mayhem and Heredia. We got Florida and Boise. Look at all these. These are really good user games actually to kick off this. I believe there's 5 or 6. Yeah, I believe there's 5. Missouri and Kansas,
6.
Kansas State and Texas, Louisville and UCF, Florida and Boise State, App State versus Mississippi State, and then Oregon and Alabama.
We should check out the week 1. We should also check out the week 1. Just show a little teaser for what we could be popping into next week, because there is a lot of week 1 user games.
You see a lot of the FCS schools, but look at all the user games. Clemson versus Georgia, Mississippi State versus Louisville might be a game of the week there. Auburn and North Carolina, Ole Miss and Michigan, 2 top 10 ranked teams. Texas A&M and Ohio State, Cincinnati and Oregon, Florida and UCF, Tennessee and Penn State, and I believe that is it. But that is a really loaded. Oh, and then one more, Charlotte and Colorado. I believe there's a lot more actually. Whoa. Kansas and Missouri.
Miami.
I am sorry. There's Missouri right below that.
Then
West Virginia and USC. Be it
so
Brody.
Many week 1 games.
Saturday night. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you for everyone tuning in. And thank you for all three of us taking the time out, the 90 minutes to make this happen for the people. And we'll get into week 0. We might have a game of the week tonight. We'll see what unfolds. And for Mason and Hale State, I am always Joker, and we'll see you guys in the regular season.